Welcome to SJS Arts. So today I'm gonna do another bracket battle as always. Today I'm gonna talk about classic films that I like but don't love. So this was inspired by Solitary Ronin Films' latest In the Frame episode, where he talked about films that he likes but doesn't love, and he had a very interesting list. He mentioned many of my favorites, but I didn't get angry. I respect his opinion, so I hope that you guys respect my opinion too, even though there are some controversial picks here as well. But again, as a disclaimer, I like these films. I don't hate them or anything, so I don't think there's any reason to get angry about these films, even though I don't absolutely adore them, but I still like them. There are a couple of films here that I even consider be masterpieces, but I just don't have a personal connection to them. But yeah, there are 16 films here. I could have picked more, but 16 is a perfect number for a bracket battle. But I might do a part two at some point, but we'll see. And I also tried to pick different types of films from different eras, different countries, and different genres, etc., etc., etc. And classic here has a bit of a kind of loose definition, so there are both like mainstream classics, then some art house classics, and yeah. But anyway, let's start this video. Hopefully you don't get too angry with me. Okay, it's just my opinion, it's not fact. Just like Solitary Ronin Films always says. So we're gonna start with a fairly controversial matchup right out of the get-go. So it's the Seventh Seal versus Fargo. So I've talked about why I don't love the Seventh Seal before too. But again, I wanna preface this by saying that I think this is a truly a great film, but it just was a bit disappointing to me because my expectations were completely different than what this film turned out to be. And I feel like if I had different types of expectations, I might have ended up liking this more. But I've watched this twice, and the rewatch definitely improved my opinion on it. I started liking it more, but I still don't love it. And even though it's by top five director, for me, Ingmar Bergman. So before I watched this film originally, I thought that it was gonna be all about the chess playing, that Max von Sydow would play chess with death throughout the whole film. Like that would be the whole plot of the film, that they would just play chess the whole film. And to me, that sounds way more intriguing than what this film ended up being. So yeah, it's just all about the expectations basically. It's still a great film, but there are so many Bergman films that I like more than this. But what a great film, and this might go very far in this bracket battle because I do like this a lot more than some of these other films here. But I don't have that much to say about this next one, Coen Brothers movie Fargo. So I've seen this couple of times and I liked the film each time, but I never got the hype for this one, and I don't really even know why I don't love this film that much. It's been quite a while since I watched it, so who knows, maybe if I rewatched it today, I might like it more. And by the way, that's the case with quite a few of these, that you never know that if I rewatch them now, I might feel differently, although I might dislike them more too, so you never know. But I actually liked the Fargo TV show, the first season, more than this film. I never watched the other seasons for Fargo for some reason, but I like the first season quite a bit. But yeah, of course, this is well written film with a fun plot and a nice kind of mix of some of that Coen Brothers type of humor and the thriller elements. And yeah, yeah, it's a solid film throughout, but it just doesn't connect with me fully. But again, a good 4 out of 5. Film still, yeah, again, not that much to say about that one. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Seventh Seal. I like it quite a bit more than Fargo. Now I'm not that interested in watching Fargo again, even though I probably will at some point, but I think I'm gonna be watching the Seventh Seal more times in the future than Fargo. But then we have Goodfellas versus Some Like It Hot, and Some Like It Hot was also in Ronin's list. But Goodfellas is actually a film that I used to love, but then I kind of, as I watched it again and again and again, I think I watched it 4 times in total. It kind of started going down in my estimation as I had seen more and more films and as I realized that Scorsese maybe isn't as much of a my type of director as I thought he was when I was younger. And I find this film to be bit juvenile and immature. And I've just kind of really grown out of this American type of crime movie. And I also find the Scorsese rise and fall thing tiresome at this point. But of course, this is a very well crafted movie with good performances and yeah, so like technically it's definitely a good film, but I just cannot see it as one of the greatest films of all time. I don't think there's that much in it beyond the kind of fun mobster characters like Joe Pesci making jokes all the time and that those violent scenes and that thrill that you get when you follow these mobsters. I don't think there's that much beyond it, although it's not like a hollow piece of shit either. Obviously, it has some depth to it, but in the end, it's a pretty cookie cutter type of mobster film in my opinion, but well crafted nonetheless. And yeah, but this is definitely a film that I don't think I'm gonna watch this again anytime soon or maybe ever. I'm just kind of done with this film, and I'm really done with the Scorsese crime films in general. Much rather would rewatch The Last Temptation of Christ. I think there's way more interesting things going on there than in some of these classic crime films that he made, and I have no interest in his latest one that has gotten lots of great reviews. But I mean, again, even though I don't have interest in it, I will watch it eventually, but definitely not in the cinema. Yeah. But yeah, again, a good film, but I just have grown out of this type of thing. Again, this was the shit when I was 18 years old, but now that I'm 26 and have watched way more films, yeah, it's not as much my cup of tea anymore. Yeah. And then some like it thought this is a film that I really need to watch again. I feel like I might feel differently about this if I watch it again because it's been quite a long time since I last watched it and I've only watched it once. So yeah, but this was one that I enjoyed quite a lot, but didn't have any kind of it didn't become a favorite for me, and I didn't have a really big connection to it. I just thought that it was an entertaining, fun classic movie, but doesn't really go beyond that much. But I'm a big fan of Jack Lemmon, and Tony Curtis obviously is a great too, and Marilyn Monroe, the icon. Yeah, so lots of fun to be had with this film, but not a favorite. But again, I will watch this again at some point. I do have it on my shelf on Blu-ray, so I can watch it whenever I feel like it. But I also need to rewatch many other Billy Wilder films. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Some Like It Hot because again, I'm interested in rewatching it, but I'm not interested in rewatching Goodfellas anymore. But yeah, you never know in the future. Then we have two classic movies. We have Sean Dielman versus Rififi. So this is interesting. So obviously this won the or not one, but it was the first number one in the Sight and Sound poll. But of course, the fact that it was number one in the Sight and Sound poll, it doesn't mean that the people who voted for it think that it's the greatest film of all time. I think many people are kind of confused about the Sight and Sound poll and how it is conducted, because of course they don't rank the 10 film ballots when they give them. They just give you 10 films that they think are the greatest films of all time. Yeah, but I don't think this is the greatest film of all time. But at the same time, I didn't mind it being the number one on the list. I thought it was like an interesting film to have as the number one, and I didn't get angry about it like many people did. But yeah, obviously, pretty much nothing happens in this film, but it's still a watchable film, and I like it. I like these films that challenge the norms of filmmaking and do something different, and I also love films that where nothing happens. Although usually in those films there is at least a little bit something happening, but in this film there's really not much happening. But yeah, it's still a well crafted experiment, but it's definitely not something that I would watch that often. But I know that I'm gonna watch it again in the future. And Chantal Akerman is an interesting director. I've watched few of her films, and this isn't actually my favorite of them. My favorite is Lock Up Thief, but she isn't one of my favorite directors. But I really respect her work, and I have liked all the films that I have seen by her, but I haven't absolutely loved any of them. But Captive is one that is pretty close to being a favorite, but yeah. And I would love to see a restoration of that film because I had to watch a pretty bad print of it, so you never know that if I saw a new restoration of it, I might love it because sometimes the restoration can give you that kind of extra 5%. Yeah. And then Rififi is a film that I of course like too, but the heist film genre just has never been genre that I like. I just am not interested in the plots that much, and obviously these are very plot heavy films because they are all about the heist and how the characters plan the heist and how they execute it and stuff. But I'm just not really interested in that. And to me, it's a very formulaic genre, even though obviously the heists differ from film to film, but still overall there is that kind of planned formula that I'm not that into. But obviously this is a well directed film and I enjoyed it for the most part, and obviously the heist scene is absolutely legendary, and I like that, but it's just overall not my type of film. But I have to recognize that this is a very well made heist film because again I can take kind of my personal taste out of films and evaluate them a bit more quote unquote objectively. But yeah, not really my type of movie in terms of the plot and in terms of the genre. But I respect the craft and the filmmaking here. I'm gonna go with Sean Dielman. It's way more my type of film, so yeah. But I do own Rififi, so I'm gonna be watching it again at some point. So yeah, it was one of the early French films that I watched. Then I guess this might make people really angry. I'm not gonna talk about this that much, but let's start with Pulp Fiction. So this was like a huge favorite for me as a teenager. But then, just like with Goodfellas, as I watched more and more films, and I kind of realized that there is a world beyond Spielberg, Tarantino, Nolan, and Scorsese. I just learned that there are films that I like way more than this. And of course, as I matured as a person, this type of thing just doesn't do it for me as much anymore. And I feel like I also kind of overwatched this in my late teens. That at that point I didn't feel like watching it again that much anymore. And I'm also not a Bruce Willis fan. I hate the Bruce Willis or not hate, but kind of dislike that Bruce Willis parts in this film, and those parts aren't that interesting to me. Although best wishes to Bruce Willis with his health problems and stuff. Again, I don't hate him as a person or anything like that, but I just don't like his acting. And one of the reasons I kind of dislike Die Hard, I know that's blasphemy, but is that I just don't like Bruce Willis at all. So yeah, I like that John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson stuff and the Uma Thurman stuff. I like that stuff, and obviously it's an entertaining film, but definitely style over substance as well. I don't think there's that much interesting here beyond the fun dialogue and the fun characters. Although many people would say that there doesn't need to be more than that. I would say there needs to be more than that if we talk about the greatest films of all times. But yeah, obviously a fun movie, but I'm not that interested in watching it again. And I respect its influence, obviously a very important piece of postmodern cinema. And yeah, yeah, has its 30, 30th anniversary next year, so time flies, time flies. But I will definitely watch it again at some point, but I really want to have many years uh, between my last watch and the next watch. Although it's already been like, I want to say 4 years since I last watched it. But yeah, so then very influential blockbuster by Steven Spielberg called Jaws. It's a shark movie, enough said. But I'm gonna go with Pulp Fiction. Yeah. Then something different again. We have Board of Shadows versus Shawshank Redemption. I think Board of Shadows is actually the most recent watch for me out of these. Yeah, it definitely is by far, I think. But this to me, this is definitely actually one of my least favorites out of this bunch. I mean, Jaws is my least favorite out of all of these, by the way. I'm not even sure I like that film at all anymore, but I used to like it a lot. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I cannot please everybody. Yeah. But this one, I don't have that much to say about it. Yeah, it's a Marcel Carné, obviously a very important director, but to me, this just felt quite pedestrian and kind of clunky, even bland. It's very dark film, but just wasn't very interesting to me and very forgettable as well. I kind of forgot it very quickly after I had watched it because I wasn't engaged with the plot and as it was so clunky and pedestrian, like I said, but it was still, even that said, for the time, it was a like a pretty well made film, so that's why I have put the like a decent star rating for it and the like. It's not like a piece of shit, but yeah, not really my cup of tea, but the important director. So again, it was a worth watch, but I'm probably not gonna watch this again ever. Yeah, but it's against the Shawshank Redemption, which is a good film, and again another film that when I was younger and before I had seen that many films, I like this quite a lot. But now it's just yeah, again it feels that kind of pretty typical kind of crowd pleaser, pretty average film with that has like again good performances and for the most part obviously it's a well crafted film and well shot film. It's entertaining to watch, but again there's not that much beyond that and it's has that kind of Spielbergian sentimentality and melodrama that I'm not a huge fan anymore. That kind of stuff that just really makes me laugh these days. As a teenager I was kind of manipulated by that sentimentality and I connected to it a lot, but then as I matured and my views changed on cinema and other things, I kind of started to see that as something very cheap and not very kind of real and not a very kind of humane thing to do. Have that kind of Burger King sentimentality and emotional manipulation and melodrama. But I cannot still deny that it's a well-made movie. But yeah, it just really falls back to the classic Hollywood wood stuff it could have been made during that era as well. But yeah, it has many powerful scenes. For example, when the old guy gets out of prison and he cannot adapt to the real world anymore. Obviously, that's a powerful sequence and an important message as well. So it's not like a hollow piece of shit, but it kind of feels cheap and mediocre in many ways, but still a well-made movie. Yeah, definitely not the greatest movie of all time. And I would say I prefer The Green Mile by Frank Darabont, even though it has the kind of the same problems as this one. But I would way rather watch that again than this one. But yeah, but I'm gonna go with Shawshank Redemption. I would way rather watch it again than Board of Shadows. Yeah. Then we have There Will Be Blood versus Rebecca. There Will Be Blood. I've obviously mentioned multiple times that it's not like one of my favorite films, and I've never gotten the hype for it. But it's one of the films here that I desperately need to give another go at some point. But okay, again, another well-crafted movie, and Daniel Day-Lewis is obviously very good in it. But to me, it's just the themes of it are very important, but at the same time, to me, just very cliche, and they have been done to death. And obviously, this was made in 2007, and there have been so many films that have the same themes before this one. Um, so to me, the kind of the clichéness of the themes is one of the issues that I have with it. But of course, it's a well-crafted film. It looks great. It's well acted and well written, but just nothing new and not very interesting in the end to me. And I also kind of don't like period pieces that are situated in this era of America. Like I would just never like that type of period piece for some reason. So that's kind of also one kind of very personal thing that bothers me about this movie because I just don't like that period for period pieces for whatever reason. Yeah, and I don't really have any kind of intellectual reason for that, but it just has been the case always for me. But yeah. But yeah, good film obviously, and I need to watch it again at some point. Although not sure when that will be because I don't really feel like rewatching it at least at this point. But at some point, yeah. And Ronin obviously mentioned some Anderson films too, but yeah. But then obviously I'm a big Hitchcock fan. But Rebecca, when I watched it, didn't do that much for me. I kind of found it actually a bit hard to get through. I kind of wasn't. I didn't get into the story that much, and yeah, I found it a bit dull, but of course, technically, it's a good movie and it had good moments. And I feel like, fuck, like I can't remember anymore because it's been years. But I feel like I liked one of the halves more than the other half. I think it was the second half that I got into more, but that's just out of memory. I might be remembering this wrong. But it's a beautifully shot film with great performances, and overall, it's a kind of well written film too. But I had some problems with the pacing, and as I said, I wasn't engaged throughout the whole film. But I really need to rewatch this. I don't remember that much about the film, so it would be quite a way fresh watch. Yeah, but a good film again, but just not one of my favorites. But I know many Hitchcock fans have that as kind of S tier Hitchcock. So yeah. Well, Rebecca, I'm gonna go with Rebecca. Um, so Citizen Kane, I think I mentioned in the beginning that there is like a masterpiece in this list, and that is Citizen Kane. That I again consider it to be a masterpiece. I consider it to be a perfect film, and I totally see why it is ranked so highly. But at the same time, I just really don't enjoy watching it, and I have absolutely no emotional connection to the film. That's probably the reason why I don't enjoy it. But when I see how it is shot and how it is acted and how it's written and crafted overall, it's just absolute perfection. So I cannot give it anything less than 5 stars, even though it's not the most enjoyable watch for me. But I especially like the parts near the end. Like those are so well shot and the shots are just absolutely beautiful. And still, like 82 years later, the film just looks absolutely stunning. So obviously, that's such a great achievement. And again, I don't really have any flaws with this film necessarily, other than I just kind of don't connect to it emotionally, and I don't enjoy watching it that much. Aside from the cinematography, I'm definitely a big admirer of that. But great film, but yeah, I'll be watching this probably many times in the future, and maybe at some point I will connect to it emotionally as well. I've seen it twice, yeah. And then as I'm a big Kubrick fan, but this is another heist film, another crime film, and just like I said, it's not like my genre, this type of crime film, so that's really the reason. Again, it's a good crime film, it's well crafted crime film. I don't really have that many problems with it necessarily, but it's just not my type of thing, not my cup of tea. In terms of the plot, the story, yeah. And I find the characters pretty, again, formulaic in these type of films as well. Yeah. But I'm gonna go with Citizen Kane. Yeah. Then the final matchup is Rosemary's Baby versus Memento. So I even put some Nolan here. But this I've seen twice. I had really big expectations for this film. It sounded like my type of thing, but then I ended up finding it a little dull at times, and to me it's too slow. And it's not very scary either, but I think there are some like very powerful moments in this film. Like I think the ending is pretty good, and it kind of gets better once it starts to go towards the horror thing. But to me, it just builds up a bit too slowly, and which kind of makes me not be engaged with the story throughout the whole film. But I like Mia Farrow and John Cassavetes in it, and the other actors too, and definitely a good film. But again, just I have some problems with it. So yeah. I definitely will be watching this again in the future. Maybe it will connect with me more then. And then my favorite and what I consider to be the best Nolan film. I still haven't seen Oppenheimer. I still haven't seen Tenet. Still haven't seen Following. And I'm not really interested in watching any of them, but I will watch them at some point. So yeah. But this, I like kind of the ambition of it. I like the how it plays with the structure and how it tries something new and different, and how it tries to innovate and tries to can do something with the medium. That's what I always say when I talk about this film. So I kind of appreciate the intention here and the ambition. But do I like really enjoy this film that much? Not really. I find it quite bland and lifeless. Although I can kind of see why it would be bland and lifeless. Obviously, it's about character who forgets everything, so his life is kind of lifeless and bland in many ways. So I kind of understand the stylistic choices here, but again, I definitely respect this film, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the director, who some people consider as God. To me, he's a okay director. I'm sorry to say that I haven't signed up to the Nolanism religion. Maybe maybe someday I will see the light and start believing and bow down beneath the feet of Christopher Nolan. But anyway, good film, good film. But I have to go with Rosemary's Baby. Yeah. But let's go quickly. The Seventh Seal, Jeanne Dielman, um, Shawshank Redemption. Actually, I mean, Rebecca is probably the more interesting and better film, but I remember like enjoying Shawshank Redemption more. Although that could very well change after I rewatch Rebecca. Um, Citizen Kane, Seventh Seal, Citizen Kane, Citizen Kane. Yeah. Anyway, that was this bracket. I could have had many other films here. Hopefully, this didn't make you too angry against my opinion, and I respect your opinion if you love these films. Good for you. And as I said, my opinions on these films might change in the future as I watch many of these again. Again, I'm still young and my taste still develops through time, and it has developed so much in my 20s. And yeah, I always like to challenge myself with new films and also with familiar films. And I always try to be open minded, and I always try to be willing to change my mind. And I have changed my mind on so many films throughout the years and so many other things as well. But anyway, let me know what would be your favorite film out of this bunch, and let me know films that um you like but you don't love. Classic films, I should say. But thanks for watching. Don't drink all the coke. Sayonara and arigato gozaimashita.